Hi there, my name is Nicole Tkachik. Our group's artifact is in the form of a panel discussion. We all act as representatives of education from 4 different countries: Canada, Germany, China, and South Africa. We chose these countries to provide reflections on what education looks like in 4 different continents. We referenced numerous reports as well as library course reserves from UBC Connect and lecture material from this course. We chose this topic because some of us originate from different corners of the globe, so it was a natural interest for us. Upon getting together, we all seemed to be quite passionate about the topic of international politics, so this led to our artifact. We decided to focus on 1. Rates of enrollment for each country, 2. The current state of education in each country, 3. Economic aspects, 4. Political aspects, and 5. Social aspects. We concluded with our reflections. To contextualize the following panel discussion, we've been learning about adult education mainly in the context of Canada, and thought that it would be interesting to apply our learning and sources to an international context. We hope to have provided some thought-provoking insights to you and look forward to your comments and continuing the discussion.
My name's Angela. I'm in 4th year and I'll be talking about the country of Canada.
Hi, I'm Katarina, and I will present my home country in the next video.
Hi, my name is Arjun. I will be representing China.
Hi there, my name is Nicole Tkachik, and I will be talking about South Africa today via Skype during our panel discussion.
In universities in Canada in the 2007 and 2008 academic year, there were just under 1 million students enrolled in undergraduate and graduate studies, with over 83% of those enrolled in undergraduate classes. And then in 2007-2008, so the same year, there were just under 200,000 graduate students enrolled in Canadian universities.
Well, in China, about 4 million students are enrolled in school today. More than 60% of high school graduates actually do attend university, and this is up from 20% from the 1980s. The number of higher education institutions actually in China has more than doubled, and today China has over 2,000 universities and colleges, which has led to a 99% literacy rate.
In Germany, we can see that the participation rates of higher education has risen in the last years. So it came up from 37% in 1991 to 51% in 2014. Second, that the formal education is most prominent in the age between 18 and the 24 years. So it decreases in the following years. In the contrary, the non-formal education is quite stable.
According to reports by UNESCO, the problems affecting the largest number of learners have been lack of books and issues of affordability. Therefore, funding is a key necessity in adult learning. Further, probably the most striking feature of this report is the figures showing the very large number of people, over 2.5 million, who have no schooling at all. This is in a nation of a growing population of approximately 48 million people. Also significant, as a description of the adult learning environment, is that over 70% of adults aged 20 and over have not completed secondary education, meaning up to grade 12.
2007-2008, tuition fees at universities in Canada for undergraduate programs averaged around $4,500. But in Quebec, provincial residents also don't have to pay fees to enroll in a public college at all. So degree-granting institutions tend to cost more. Those are the universities and the university colleges, and they also have stricter entrance requirements.
China, approximately 25 million students in China pay an average of $400 to $2,200 in tuition. Acceptance to any institution of higher education in China is highly competitive and only accessible to students that earn the highest GECO score. In 1998, China opened up their higher education system to private education. Rates at China's private institutions vary greatly and many times surpass the average amount of $2,200 for tuition. For example, to attend the University of Nottingham in Ningbo, students pay $9,000 a year in compared to the highest rate in a non-private, which is $2,200.
It's quite a lot in comparison to Germany. In 2005, the Federal Ministry of Education and Research in Germany decided that the ministries of the states responsible for the tuition fees of public schools in Germany. Most of the states decided to eliminate all the tuition fees, so that aren't any tuition fees at all for public schools in Germany at the moment. To finance the professors, they use German taxpayers' money, and there remains only an amount about $300 to pay for students per semester to cover the administrative expenditure. For senior studies, and except for people who have already graduated in another program. Then, but the tuition fees are far not so high as you mentioned. They are around $500. There are applied universities as well, but they are mostly private-led and have more restricted access.
The Republic of South Africa can be classified as a middle-income country. It is a unique nation when it comes to education. Due to those students who missed out on education under the apartheid, universities have had their hands full accommodating a body of individuals who either never had access to education or who left school. However, according to reports by UNESCO, only 1% of the education budget has been allocated to adult learning by provincial education departments. As a result, volunteer teachers and distance education has been popularized. In the largest program of its kind in the world, University of South Africa has trained more than 80,000 adult basic education practitioners since the mid-1990s. Further, in 2008, 20,000 volunteer teachers offered classes to 300,000 adult learners. In terms of typical post-secondary education, universities charge approximately 40,000 rand, which is approximately 4,000 per year or 2,000 per term. According to Elizabeth Lang, a fellow expert in adult education and philosophy, there are two main types of education: practical, which is applying knowledge to daily problems, and theoretical, the contemplation of the deepest principles and truths. In Southern Africa, the most popular form of adult education is definitely practical, as it functions as a form of vocational training for those individuals who missed out on this opportunity due to the political economy in past decades. Lang further explains that the liberal philosophy is based on the maxim that knowledge sets you free. This quote captures the feeling that many South Africans have as they live in their rural communities seeking freedom and marketable skills such as literacy and understanding of business.
We all admit that education and economics tie together, don't we? And in that, while we did our research, we all found different economic issues for each country in the relationship to adult education. So the economic aspects in China for a student who's going to university, how the price to rent is actually not that expensive. The average cost to rent a house or apartment is about $370 per month. And the cost of living with food, electrical, telephone, everything is about $150 a month, which is around $500 per month. They're very minimal in their expenses compared to the United States.
Living on campus, I pay about $750 a month, and that's not including utilities. My phone bill is about $80 per month, and that's not even covering food, which escalates to even more than that, especially in Vancouver, where prices have just skyrocketed. But at least in Canada, with Trudeau now in office, he is trying to implement a policy that delays tuition payments until you earn over $25,000 a year, which will aid in decreasing student debt.
It's quite interesting to hear this because the costs in Germany differ quite from where you're living. If you're living in a great city and it's like Berlin, Hamburg, or Munich, it's quite different from smaller universities on the mainland. Because in Germany it differs quite a lot where you're living and which university you attend to. If you're living in Berlin, Hamburg, or Munich, you pay much more than living on the countryside and having a small university. You can see that 18% have in Germany an income under €1,000. About 32% have an income between $1,000 and $2,000. 18% again have can have an income between $2,000 and $3,000, and between $3,000 and $5,000 is about 15%. There are another 14% having an income over €5,000. To compare this to the situation of students, you can say that to cover your basic needs in Germany, you need at about €600 per month. So yeah, it's quite expensive to have a student life at all without earning any money. So the students have support from their parents. There is a very low landscape of bursaries, but there are only around 10% of students in Germany at all that can focus on this bursary.
I will try to break down the cost of living in South Africa as follows. By converting to Canadian dollars from South African rand, a one-bedroom apartment for rent is on average $400 per month. Per family, for a three-bedroom apartment is about $900 per month. As of 2007, 30.8% of females and 21.1% of males is unemployed. The average monthly salary is 1,500 Canadian dollars, not leaving very much disposable income for children, groceries, transportation, never mind tuition. Further, it's important to contrast these statistics on the cost of living with South Africa's unemployment rates. It is the highest for Black Africans at 32% and women 31% in rural areas. This could be a key area to focus on in terms of community and building.
So provincial governments have exclusive responsibility of all levels of education in Canada. So there's no Ministry of Education at the federal level at all. But they do offer a Council of Ministers of Education in Canada. That way all of the different provincial and territorial ministries of education can get together and discuss common concerns, explore ways to cooperate, share information, and I guess kind of regulate education across the country.
That's interesting because that's similar to Germany. There, as I stated at the beginning, the provincial ministers are responsible as well, and there's just the federal ministry that gives some basic information. In the politics, there are two parties that are two big parties in Germany that have different opinions about this topic. There is first the Social Democratic Party that are anti-tuition fees because they are thinking about to offer equal opportunities to get access to higher education, and it's the turn of the government to pay for it. And on the other side, there's the Christian Democratic Union, who think that it's inevitable measure to improve the learning circumstances and higher education facilities just through implementing tuitions.
China is almost the opposite. Basically, like the federal levels that we have here, there is a Ministry of Education at the federal level of the Republic of China. But cities do also help out with education. For example, the Xi'an city, it's in China. It's offered liberal tax exemptions to private colleges and universities in order to encourage the development of world-class educational systems. Private institutions have provided the government with the means to increase the supply of post-secondary educational facilities.
We cannot talk about the political climate in South Africa without discussing the apartheid. It is a unique nation when it comes to education. Due to those students who missed out on education under apartheid, universities have had their hands full accommodating a body of individuals who either never had access to education or who left school. This results in an abnormally large enrollment in adult education in relation to other African nations.
Educational attainment among Aboriginal people lags well behind averages for the Canadian population as a whole. For example, only 8% of Aboriginal men have a university degree or higher, compared to the 25% rate for non-Aboriginal men.
China's response to extraordinarily high rates of unemployment in reference to college students is to expand post-educational opportunities in an effort to minimize the overwhelming access of recent new graduates.
And they're also lowering tuition costs to try to increase the amount of Aboriginal participation in higher education campuses.
In Germany, it's quite interesting because we have just the split up the tuition fees. We have the one who can afford it, and we have the one who can't afford it. And there are some support from the government. It's called BAföG. It's for everyone who wants to study, just with the background of the income of his parents. He gets some support on it. We've discussed the different situations of tuition around the world. We would like to reflect what we are thinking about this topic. That's kind of the baseline why we choose this topic, because we all are students in the same situation. We have to afford our higher education at university, and so now we see that there might be different opinion on it. So let's see what people can think about tuition and what can be pro aspects and what can be contra aspects. So Arjun and I will present you the pro side of argument you can see on this topic. Firstly, many people of the public sector would say that the public coffers are empty and they need tuition fees to fill them up again. Furthermore, there are not less students in countries where tuition fees are offered, requested, so that won't be an argument counter tuition fees that less students would attend to university. Furthermore, tuition fees in the positive way should go directly to the higher education facilities, so that, for example, universities have the freedom to offer better learning conditions and better research conditions, implement new technologies, modern research processes, and so offer better conditions that they can afford now.
Education can be offered on a higher level and wider access to research resources, publications, professional research, and magazines. Further organizational stuff would improve the organization of the students' everyday life. There are tuition fees in all other Western countries around the world, and the better consequences are able to be observed. If students have to pay for their education, they will feel externally motivated to study, because the cost of tuition would burden them while in school and when they're done school, until they pay their debts.
After having seen what could be argued on the pro side for tuition fees, now we see and to get you the information about the contra side.
A big issue in a lot of places is post-secondary capacity. So how they've fought to deal with this issue is enhancing and stabilizing the long-term capacity of post-secondary systems to meet the training and learning needs of all students seeking higher education learning opportunities. So the primary need for this is stable and long-term government funding. So as we've seen before, Germany has already gotten there, but Canada still has quite a bit of work to do, as well as many other countries around the world. Post-secondary institutions also need to attract and train more people, including older adults and members of groups who have not traditionally participated in university and college education. So this relates to how Canada is trying to get mature adults and students, as well as Aboriginal people, to represent themselves on campuses.
While South Africa still has lots of work to do in terms of solidifying their adult education in the country, they are doing well to utilize what is available by means of volunteer teaching and distance learning. It is imperative that more attention be brought to this sector in the upcoming years, because it is clear that the unemployment rates are on the rise alongside population rates. This could be very problematic. While much of this is still a result of the political events in the country's history, the devastating apartheid, there is hope due to dedicated and progressive young thinkers who are taking part in the furthering of adult education in the nation by volunteering their time and services.